What's up, homies? Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're all doing good. I have been a busy blade, and it's nice to be at the end of the fucking week. I'll tell you that much. I will tell you that much right now. I am going to see, wait for it, Jesus Christ Superstar tomorrow. I've never actually seen it. But if you've never heard Jesus Christ Superstar and you're not easily offended, definitely recommend it. Recommend the original album. Go get the original album. Not the fucking album from the goddamn movie. The one with Ian Gillan from Deep Purple as Jesus. Get that one. Very, very good soundtrack. But I am going to go see that shit tomorrow, and I'm excited. I am excited. Nuclear Vessels X never disappoints. I have it on vinyl. So do I, friend. So do I. Don't let me stop your great self-destruction. Kurt Jangle in the chat. What is up? Too fat to cook. Knows what I'm talking about, bro. Preach. See, we're all, this is good. Blurry Line, I believe, is the youngest amongst us, but we are all of relative mind, body, and age. And I look at the analytics on the people who listen to this podcast. I know I'm talking to mostly people slightly younger than me, a few that are older, but mostly slightly younger. So I'm just happy to be on fucking Friday time, peoples. BJ Dixon in the chat. What's up, my friend? Good to have you with us. What is up with me is I am here to have a good time. The Scare Glow. Good to see you, friend. Pro Wrestling Forever was a dope show. Really fun. It was a fun show. Looking forward to it. I'm going to promote it when I start the actual podcast, but the next episode, we are going to be zoning in on factions. And it's not just going to be about like, who is the best faction of all time? I want to know who your favorite factions were, but I want to talk about the history of factions. I want to talk about what constitutes a faction. When did factions really start? And I was trying to think of the oldest one I could, and I should probably save it for that show, but I'm here with my people, so I ain't going to do it. Is like the First Family, like Jimmy Hart, like in Memphis, the First Family? That's one of the oldest factions, right? Because, they were an actual family. Anyway, fuck you, mama 2 times says, I'm 43, Blade. Well, guess what, friend? I'm 46, so you are in good company. Good company. What up, Blady? Your favorite Florida man is in the building. That's right. I got some good Florida people. It just so happens that a lot of my favorite people are from Florida. And that's weird because so many people say, Florida's full of crazy fuckers. And it is. But I happen to attract the good ones. I'm not sure what that's about. Kurt Jangle, Blade, the oldest man alive. It's true. Speaking of the something men alive, I got the brand new Outrunners figures delivered to my home because I live about 3 miles from the distribution center for Jazzwares, and they look so good. I got Dalton Castle as well, like made to be an action figure. Very soon, I'm going to be doing a video tour of my wrestling room to show all of you how sick and single I will be until the end of time. Okay, because that entire room is just for wrestling shit. Like nothing else goes in there. My pets aren't allowed in there because it knocks shit down. God damn. Tino Ibarra, surprised there was no Doink the Clown talk for worst wrestler. He was on the graphic and we forgot to bring him up because I will say this. What I would have said that day is Matt Bourne as Doink, the original Matt Bourne, not a good man, not a good person, seemed to have a lot of problems. Great gimmick. The original Doink was creepy as fuck. There's that weird period of time from like Savage getting bit by the Cobra to like Doink where there was just this kind of sense of menace to a lot of the programming with the Undertaker in his heel era before he became a babyface. Yeah, it was really interesting. Blurry Line 7, I turned 28 this month. Sadly, got a few weeks to contrive a cool Rockstar 27 Club death, but it's not looking likely. You know what? Let's keep it unlikely, Blurry. You're holding this chat together, okay? You are the glue of this chat, and I need you here. So if you need a reason, let's use that as number one. He's joking. Yeah. Happy birthday. Happy upcoming birthday to you. We will, you got to remind us when it's closer to your day, man, because we will wish you happy birthday on this shit. And I will clip it and share it on the socials. So, Tino, I saw Brett beat Doink at SummerSlam 93. It was weird. Okay. So my best friend will tell you to his dying day that SummerSlam 93 is the greatest SummerSlam of all time, because that's when he started watching wrestling. And we have watched it together so many times. It's such a bad show. But yeah, it was up in Michigan. So yeah, of course, that's where the Steiners have their family on, and they accidentally call Rick Rob. And oh man, what a shit show. That's also where Lex body slammed Doink, got counted out, didn't win the title, and acted like he did. Matt Bourne as Doink was great, but everyone else sucked. Fuck you, mama, 2 times. You can say that 3 times because that is very true. Yeah. Yep. Brooklyn Brawler filled in for Doink a couple of times. And then some dude, Ray Apollo, played Doink. What the fuck? My teachers always said I was fit to be glue. Blurry Line 7. We need a new killer clown gimmick like it's been a while. I'm not counting down Danhausen. Like, I want some Art the Clown shit. I know there's plenty in Mexico. Yeah, there's Psycho Clown and the Clown family that comes with him. But I think that's AAA, is it not? So I don't know that would be achievable, at least outside of the McManosphere. And let's not talk about the McManosphere. Come on. Tino Ibarra, I tripped coming back from the bathroom because everything went dark for Undertaker's entrance. Me and Taker have had beef ever since. Turns out, great guy to have beef with because he sucks. Absolutely sucks in every single conceivable way. Fuck you, Mark Calloway. I've been listening to an audiobook. I've been listening to Terry Funk's autobiography. It came out in 2005. I got to tell you, it is a really interesting snapshot in wrestling history because Terry is not like super up Vince McMahon's ass. But like the way he talks about Triple H, the way he talks about it just reminds me so much of those cult fucking documentaries they were making around that time, where like you would have Vern Gagne on and basically they would put Vern in the Hall of Fame, and then Vern would do a podcast or do a DVD about, the AWA, and he'd be like, oh, I'm glad Vince owns the whole thing. It's great that we have a monopoly. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. And then you see Jericho or Edge or Christian or whoever, it's a cult. Like, these are cult videos. Vince hates it when you say anything good about him. Yeah. No, he hates it if you forget to say that he hates it when you say something good about him. That's what that shit really was. But it was very interesting to get a snapshot of where wrestling was in 2005. I got to say though, Terry's thoughts on wrestling are very interesting. He's a man of his time to some degree, and fairly progressive in other ways too, but he's like real good friends with like Dick Murdoch, people who we've since learned were not the greatest guys, Dick Slater, people like that. But I think there was definitely like sides to these people that they showed to their buddies and hid from their wives, and showed their wives and hid from their buddies. So, that's not shocking to me, but good read. If you can find it, go track down that Terry Funk autobiography. I think Terry's one of the greatest ever. And it was fascinating to kind of get his perspective on the business. The most interesting thing I think he said was about Lou Thez, because Lou Thez is held up as the first great NWA champion. And like, he was God's gift to pro wrestling, and carried the NWA, which he did in fairness do. But Terry kind of talks about how Lou was a selfish champion. And he doesn't personally consider Lou a great champion, because Lou, if he just didn't like the cut of your jib, or he just didn't think you were legit enough, he would just destroy you in the ring. And, how would he make any money? How did you help the promotion that you just came to visit as the world champion if you just made their top guy look like shit? And Terry really brought up, what it is to be a world champion and to be the NWA world champion at that time, which was You go in, you leave the territory at least as well off, if not better than when you arrived. You know, you made somebody look legit, you beat them, you left, you know, or you went to a draw or whatever. And Lou would just destroy people he didn't think were on his level. And there were surprisingly, shockingly, very few people he thought were on his level. Too Fat to Cook saying the boys gives me the ick. Yeah, if I said it, I apologize. I'm definitely not one of the boys. But yeah, no, it's very true. I agree with that. Terry Funk was sadly born 100 years too late to be the bandit outlaw terrorizing Texas saloons that he was destined to be. Absolutely. You know, if Terry was alive right now, you know what I would do? I would have him manage Bandido. That's what I would do. I would have him manage Bandido because that would be hilarious. Just the two pairings, those two personalities, you know, just like cranky, drunk Terry Funk managing Bandido. Yeah. So, shall we get started, gang? Because I am ready to fucking roll. I'm so happy to be here with y'all. Thank you for showing up. As always, it means the world to me to spend this bit of time I get with you every week. So let's roll. We're starting this podcast right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out, a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling. I'm Blade Daly. I'm flying solo today, except for all these amazing people I have in the chat with me right now. Really, really happy to be here. Did kind of a shortened little baby episode last week so that I could put my focus on the new show that premiered this past Monday, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Before we go any further, though, I just want to send huge love to Rebel, aka Tanae Brooks, who revealed today that she has terminal ALS, Lou Gehrig syndrome, on top of cancer that she's already fighting. Unbelievable. I mean, like, Rebel is one of those people that I think in the long run has been so overlooked in the beginning days of AEW. And, you know, as much as people miss Britt Baker, you can pretty much look at Britt's act from the time that Rebel joins it to the time that Rebel leaves it. Those are the times that I enjoyed her act the most. And she made such a difference with Britt. I remember they even toyed around with the idea of Britt having her own like Piper's Pit kind of segment. They did it on Dark a number of times. And her with Rebel was absolutely fucking hilarious. I thought it was so good. So it's really sad. And you know, if I can just be real with you for a minute here, over the last 6 years or so, the world's experienced so much tumult, you know, I mean, longer than that, but since the pandemic specifically, when we lost so many people, everybody knew somebody who had COVID and got really sick with it. We've all had to confront the real truth that the people in our lives mean everything to us, right? The people around us are the ones who kind of create the atmosphere around us, right? And all of you that join me for these live streams, all of the sickos I know out there, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're with me live, if you're just listening after the fact, if you're somebody that I talk to on social media a lot, I just want to say I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate your support so much. We got to be there for each other. We have each other at the very least, even when things seem bleakest, we have each other. And I think all of us are sending massive appreciation and love to Rebel. So that was very sad to hear, and best of luck to her and her family, and wish her all the best. There is one person, honestly, I could do with a little less of. I don't want anything, you know, medically bad to happen to him, but just slightly less of, which is obviously Professor Degree. And unfortunately, he hosts my new podcast, Pro Wrestling Forever, which kicked off this past Monday, and was a total blast. If you haven't yet, please go check out Pro Wrestling Forever Pod on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, and give us a follow and a 5-star review if you can. It does really help us in the algorithm. It boosts us up. It tells Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whoever, wherever, it tells them, hey, this is a podcast worth recommending to people when they're searching for wrestling. We don't try to fit into the algorithmic bubble the way that a lot of people do. We are not modeled to be necessarily the most searchable thing in the world. So we rely on your support as much as we possibly can. It really does mean a lot. Thank you so much. But it's not a bad podcast. Even with Degree there, it's a good podcast. So I would say you should check it out. You should check out the episode we just did. We were talking about the best, worst wrestlers. Okay. We talked about the Honky Tonk Man. We talked about Hulk Hogan. We talked about Junkyard Dog. We talked about a lot of people who got a lot of shit from dirt sheets. Lex Luger, the British Bulldog, who are actually great at a lot of things. And if you look at what people used to say about these people, Sid was another one. If you look at what people used to say about them, the scrutiny, the criticism just doesn't hold up to the test of time. So definitely go check that out, and check out this Monday's episode, because we're talking all about factions. Who's your favorite faction? We could talk about who was the member of a faction that when they joined that faction jumped the shark. We're going to talk about the history of factions. It's faction. It's just a lot of factioning. We're going to be factioning a lot this Monday on Pro Wrestling Forever. Same time, 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central. Make sure you join us, check it out, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and to all of wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe there. Let's see what the chat's saying here. Too Fat to Cook. Fuck ALS and cancer. Absolutely. Pippin, the waiting room was amazing. That's what it was called. It was called The Waiting Room. It was a lot of fun. I was really shocked that they didn't go farther with that, because it was a great segment, but Rebel was part of the secret sauce that made it so fun. She was so great with her batshit over the top, that crazy laugh that she had. Oh, so good. So good. And it's not always the best wrestlers that make the wrestling show. Go watch ECW if you want to know what I mean. Like, that promotion is almost all gimmick. There's some great wrestling that happens at times there, but a lot of it didn't hold up very well. I'm watching a lot of it right now. I'm in the middle. I just got to the point in ECW in 1994 where they just did the NWA title tournament and renamed themselves Extreme Championship Wrestling. Shane Douglas threw the belt down. There's like 5 great wrestlers in that promotion, but there's like 30 people who sporadically come in and out of TV. And it's a lot of fun. It holds up so well because the characters are so great. And Rebel was one of those. She made every segment she was in super entertaining. Blurry Line, I've seen lots of people who work as extras or enhancement talent talk about how Rebel always went out of her way to ask them questions and get to know them and make them feel welcome. Absolutely. Absolutely. Scareglow says, we love Rebel. We do. We do. And we're very grateful, really, just because Rebel is, she made such an impression on all of us. And 4 years since I think she's been on TV, 3-4 years since she's been on TV, we're still talking about her, and we still would be regardless of today's news. She's one of the true good human beings of pro wrestling. It's horribly unfair that she's experiencing this. We love you, Rebel, from Blurry Line. Pippin, the algorithm can't handle the Sickos Club. That's fucking right. That is fucking right. You hear me, Elon? You hear me? Whoever the fuck runs Google, you can't handle this shit. You can't fucking sit to this shit. All right. Sorry, guys. I know that I'm intimidating when I get that way, so sorry if I scared any of you. The Scareglow, Degree is funny, and he knows Masters of the Universe. He loves that shit. Degree is the most unapologetic nerd I have ever met in my life. He is also one of the most creative nerds I have ever met. Dropping kayfabe for a minute, the guy is fucking hilarious. And shit that he says just as a serious statement to me, I just die laughing, because he'll tell me about, him and his friends hiding WCW cards in their shit at random times. And somebody's like, oh man, I got a Lex Luger again. If you're our age, he's a little older than me. He's a lot older than me. He's way older than me. He's the oldest man alive. But he just says that shit just like it's nothing. And I'm like, dude, you had cool friends. Like, holy shit. Blurry Line, if Pro Wrestling Forever gets 100 positive Spotify reviews, Degree will let his children in the house for 1 per weeknight, so long as it doesn't conflict with AEW being on. Let's negotiate on that, because I kind of like the way it is right now, that he doesn't even acknowledge them at all. Tino Ibarra, I'm so sad for her and her family. Absolutely. Absolutely. Another last Rebel one here. Rebel's cackle and comedic timing elevated Britt as she was finding herself as a character. Rebel crawling out of a dumpster with a banana peel on her head. She made the most of her segments. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. the two ladies who walked out of Collision a few months ago, and Maya World and Hyan, like, stepped into their place and basically showed them what they should have done. Rebel is who we're talking about. You make the most of your minutes however you do it, and Rebel did that. She could be on screen for 45 seconds and make you laugh your fucking ass off. She was so funny. So much fun. I can't say enough good things. She was a big part of the building blocks of AEW. Just huge, unheralded MVP in a lot of ways. And then fuck your mama 2 times. Man, that video of Rebel talking made me cry. Same. It's really, really sad. Really sad. But moving forward, I've brought you all here today to talk about a specific topic because I've noticed a big shift. Now, we all know I'm wrong most of the time, right? It's kind of my gimmick. Well, if streaming on YouTube has taught me anything, it's that most of you are too. So it's not just me. I'm happy to be the face of your wrongness. Don't get me wrong. It served me well. I think, you can still hide behind me and pretend you weren't wrong, or make fun of me and pretend you weren't wrong. But now that I've had you make your predictions in the chat, I know the truth. For most of my life, wrestling has followed a pretty simple story beat that's relatively predictable, right? After a while of watching, even as a kid, you can kind of see where things are going to go. And that's part of the fun, right? Is you feel like you're on the inside of what's happening. So much of wrestling, honestly, is about feeling like you kind of are on the inside of knowing what's about to happen, right? That's why dirt sheets are so successful. That's why you have fans addicted to this shit for their entire lives, way past the age people of my generation would have been told to grow out of it. I'm 46 years old, still watching this shit. But, the basic storyline development, you build some heat. The bad guys come out and get one over on the good guys. Maybe they steal a championship from a good guy, and then another good guy or the same good guy rises up through turmoil and comes back to beat up the heel, and so on and so on and so forth. And that's basically the foundation, the building blocks of wrestling, right? It really isn't that different now than it was 70 years ago, except, there's less nationalism, less racism. There's still some, significantly less racism over homophobia, that kind of thing. But, the premise is built on seeing the good guy eventually give the heel their comeuppance, right? And when AEW started, there was a lot of subtlety to some of the stories. Like, definitely Hangman and Kenny was one. It felt like we were watching a different kind of storytelling happen. And at the time, it was really easy to think, hey, that was because of Hangman and Kenny. And I'm sure most of it was, right? But most of the pay-per-views, outside of that feud and maybe a couple others, CM Punk and MJF had some nice beats to it, but it was a little more straight up pro wrestling. But most of the time, once a pay-per-view was announced, I myself, and I'm sure many others, could tell you who the winners and losers were going to be, and be right maybe 90% of the time. There might be a surprising result here or there, but for a long time, I don't know if you guys remember, but a lot of discussion was that AEW was so predictable, and people who defended AEW would be like, well, just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's bad, which is true, right? But Tony Khan, I think, became like that Michael Jordan gif where he's like, and I took that personally, because after the last year, after being solidly wrong about just about everything since the second Wrestle Dream, which I was in the audience for, someone in a comment, told me I was not seeing things clearly, and that I was very scarred by Vince McMahon's storytelling, that I was so indoctrinated into WWE's way of doing stories that I wasn't seeing things the way they were actually being presented. That is not a fun thing to hear. Number one, nobody wants to hear that, okay? But two, the really bad part was I realized later they were right. I have been scarred by all of that, which is like, if you're going to lose at the pay-per-view, you win on the go-home show, or you stand tall on the go-home show right before the pay-per-view, and then you lose, or vice versa, right? There's all these tropes that wrestling follows that you see AEW do sometimes, and then they subvert your expectations a little bit. And then every once in a while, they'll play into it, except with a little wink and a nod, right? So good example would be Kenny Omega and MJF for Dynasty. There's multiple parts of that I want to pull apart. But do you remember the last segment before Max and Kenny went to Dynasty was Kenny and Max in the ring? Kenny's in this cool suit, and Max tries to hit him with the dynamite diamond ring, and Kenny ducks, hits him with a V-trigger, and pulls the ring off his finger, puts it on his own finger, and then says, goodbye and good night, bang. And Kenny did lose. But how did he lose? He got hit with the fucking ring. They were kind of giving you like a little bit of foreshadowing the whole way through. It's just not the foreshadowing that you thought it was going to be. It played with it subverted your expectations, but it made sense. And that's what AEW's become, is this company that plays with wrestling tropes, then subverts those tropes and pulls the rug out from under you. But even when they do that, it still makes sense. It's not swerve for the sake of a swerve, unless it's Swerve Strickland, in which case his house. But, that's true. BJ Dixon, that's WWE PTSD. Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, it is. Neon Ghost in the chat. What's up, brother? Good to have you here. But yeah, AEW has been playing with our expectations and dancing circles around all of us for quite a while now. I was talking about how I was so sure that MJF was going to win at Revolution. And then in the chat, we all got to talking, and everybody pointed out the multitude of reasons that MJF couldn't win and Hanger had to win. And y'all convinced me that Hanger was going to win. And so I changed my prediction because y'all made too much sense. And then he lost. I mean, that's the thing. You just like Tony Khan's like, oh, you don't think I can? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. Yes, here you go. Yes, I did. I love it. That's what wrestling is, baby. That's what wrestling is. If the storytelling's good, I love that I don't know where it's going. And I have definitely, especially a good example of this, if you've listened to this podcast a lot, would be the Death Riders, okay? I've been saying I want the Death Riders to break up. I'm tired of the Death Riders. And I don't blame myself for feeling that way at those times, okay? Because they had been on top of the company for so long. But right now, I'm loving the Death Riders. We're going to talk about the story they got going on in a little bit here. But man, holy shit, I love the Death Riders. They're hilarious and menacing and a lot of things all at once. But they found their own little space in the AEW sphere, right? In the Conosphere. And I'm really enjoying their story right now. It's one of the better stories in AEW. Let's read some chat here. Tino Ibarra. Side note, Maya and Hyan's theme is an absolute banger straight out of the early 90s. Very true. Pippin. Rebel was from a time when AEW was even dorkier, along with Leva Bates, Peter Avalon, and Brandon Cutler. Yes, Brandon Cutler's gimmick was literally based around D&D. Oh, man. So true. Tino Ibarra says it's because TK doesn't treat his audience like idiots. He doesn't. And one line that they've started towing that I think they do really well is now they're finding ways to like introduce you to the characters if you haven't been watching for a long time. But it doesn't take up too much of the show, and it doesn't waste the audience's time that's been watching every week for years. I've never missed a single episode of anything AEW related. Even if I didn't see it live, I saw it at some point. I saw every Rampage. I've seen every Collision. I've seen every Dynamite. And I don't feel like people are wasting my time with the way they're doing the video packages and stuff. It does. And sometimes those video packages will even remind me about something I did forget. One little moment here or there that I forgot about that was pivotal to building a character. And it's cool, Pippin. TK knows the tropes inside and out, and that's why he can break them 100%. You can only break them if you're a super mark, and I am just at this point now, that's why I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail for this episode, but it's when Moxley poked Pac in the belly. And I said, Mox is Tony Khan and Pac is my dream booking or my fantasy booking, because he's just fucking stunting on me now. Like, I don't know shit compared to this guy. And wherever he goes, like I trust him with that shit more and more all the time right now. The Scarego Glow, the critics want AEW to play by the old rules, but then how do we move forward? Things don't have to be so crusty and stale. Totally agree. And I think where wrestling, one of the reasons for this is I think a lot of people in wrestling don't acknowledge it as an art, right? They acknowledge it more as a sport. And so there's like a way to play football. There's a way to play basketball or baseball or whatever sport, right? So it's easy to start thinking there's a way that you tell wrestling stories. But that's the art of wrestling. The athleticism is the sport part, and everything else is the art, you know? Always never one of those people. I got to give art time, friend. I know. It's, it's one of those things. I'm a musician, I'm a very patient person with visual art or movies or anything, but with wrestling, I can get in that mindset where I'm like, I feel like I know where I need to go or where we need to go. Let's start getting there, And there's still sometimes I think that's valid. Like, I think it did take us quite a long time to get to Okada and Takeshita, but at least we're getting there and it's fun getting there, right? So at least they don't let you down when you finally do get there, even if it did take a long time. Neon Ghost, I think Tony is really evolving wrestling storytelling beyond heel and babyface, and I couldn't be happier about it, especially with Mox and the Death Riders. Absolutely. Fuck you, mama, 2 times. What if the Death Riders are grooming Will Ospreay to take over once they do turn on Mox? That's a great point. And funny enough, that's a part of our discussion that we'll be having just a little later. I'm going to read some more of what I had written, and then I'll read more chats. You guys are the best. But yeah, so AEW has really developed their own way of telling stories that is both wildly unpredictable and still makes sense. They arrive at destinations I could never foresee, but the stories have been extremely subtly hinted at, like that Kenny thing I was just talking about the whole time, and they don't feel hot-shotted, because then they'll bring you back. So they'll show you something, right? And that will lead you to believe they're going in a certain direction, but they'll have shown you something else that was much smaller in that same bit that is the thing you should have been paying attention to. And then they totally drop you on your ass later, and you're like, oh, fuck, they were hinting at that the whole time. Holy shit, And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be worked and to have somebody consistently shock you and surprise you, but in a very genuinely satisfying way. I saw a ton of people, for instance, this past week on socials and YouTube, predicting that MJF would win the TNT title from Kevin Knight on Wednesday. And then that would be what Max would put on the line, as Darby has been telling him he's going to need to do to get another title shot. Then that got me started on a conversation with Blurry Line privately about the possibility of doing a title versus title match for the TNT title at Double or Nothing between Max and Darby. Then that got us started on a conversation about merging those 2 titles and how, honestly, it wouldn't be the worst idea. And then Kevin Knight beat MJF on Dynamite, and none of that is going anywhere. None of that's going to happen. But goddamn, we had a fun time exploring those possibilities and having that conversation. That is what wrestling is about, right? It's what the adults used to call the water cooler talk, right? Back when we used to have water coolers and work in offices. Anyway, or have jobs or money. Yeah, it's what gets people talking. So, people were talking, is Darby going to beat MJF? Is, they're asking their friends about it. That gets a buzz going about the company. Remember when Darby was calling out MJF and said he would go till he saw God or gold? And the upcoming match at Dynasty at the time was Kenny versus MJF. And he said, until I see God or gold. And then right after he said God or gold, the God of pro wrestling, Kenny Omega, walked out. It made me think in that moment that Kenny was the thing I was supposed to be paying attention to, right? And that he might have had a real chance of winning, even though intellectually I knew that was probably unlikely, because the real thing I should have been paying attention to was Darby, right? These details go a long way to adding just a pinch of doubt to anything that's happening. And Tony's kind of done the madman booking where it's like, he wouldn't do this, and then he does. And not only does he do it, he makes it work. That's the difference between Tony Khan and Vince McMahon putting Brock Lesnar over a bazillion times and the crowd booing the shit out of it. You know what I mean? It's not even the same thing. It's not even, I don't know why I made the comparison. It's the closest thing I can compare, I guess. So let's see what else you guys got. Blurry Line. I will say at the beginning of AEW, they treated the audience not enough like idiots. Like the Dark Order and the Butcher and the Blade debuts were definitely rough because they'd assumed we'd know who they are. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's the knowledge that they expected you to have of indie wrestling. I was in the crowd when the Dark Order debuted at Double or Nothing, and people were chanting like, "Who are you?" or "We don't know you," or something like that. It was not the greatest debut. Saw that one. Death Riders have been a top tier faction since Mox lost the title. Them finding purpose post title is showing the characters and strengths of each member much more. Couldn't have said it better, Blurry. Very, very true. Very true. Always Never says Cutler is dope, and I will never entertain people that don't appreciate his in-ring work. You know, I remember he had the first Dynamite match. I think he was in the first match ever on Dynamite, and he botched something kind of simple in the match. And people were really, really all over him about it on socials because you know how people are. They're just terrible. But he worked so hard to get so much better. It's kind of sad that he doesn't wrestle very much. But him being the Young Bucks stooge was so much fun, though. I mean, it was so much fun. When he just became the guy who got his ass kicked in place of them, that was great shit. Jon Moxley's face turn in the Death Riders should be studied. Yeah, it really should. Always Never. I love that TK is booking different than the outdated tropes. 100%. We got people talking about Leo Rush. BJ Dixon. I was telling a friend that unpredictability is a lost art in professional wrestling, and AEW has been holding that torch for the past year and a half. It's one of the many reasons that I continue to watch. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's because it's thrilling, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen next, and you don't need to. And even if you think you know, the possibilities are endless where it could go. And you could absolutely not see where it was going. I remember last year at Double or Nothing when we found out it was going to be Hangman versus Ospreay in the main event. I thought it was going to be Ospreay. For sure, I thought it was going to be Ospreay. And then it was Hanger. I was shocked but super happy. But I predicted Ospreay would win. And I was wrong. Yes. So Always Never agree. Some of these stories do take some time. Sometimes just a month or two too long. Death Riders are never turning on Mox ever. I'd bet money. At this point, Always Never, it's just like, who can even say, because the shit is so wild, right? But it's so much fun. Always Never says commentary can only do so much, but man, I love live wrestling and not knowing what the fuck is going on and who I'm looking at. It is fun. Yes. Scareglow, I love seeing Darby and the Jet hitting the low blow on MJF. Smart faces with a little gray area makes so much sense. MJF can't handle it, and they really started that with Hangman, where Hangman, he'll cheat if if somebody's, wrestling in bad faith, I guess you could say. He'll cheat and he'll beat them at their own game and win. And it just makes him a smart babyface that you like even more. What people hate is dumbasses, like Surfer Sting was such an idiot. Like, I liked him. I appreciated his wrestling. Don't get me wrong. But the amount of times he went back to trusting Ric Flair, who always turned on him, was just ridiculous. Hulk Hogan, same thing. It's just like, you're an idiot. You have the gold. Everybody's going to try to take the gold from you. That's the point of the gold. Yes. Blurry Line, carrying something personal, an idea that's yours, and that's always going to be so much more involving. Yeah, absolutely. So, there was the thing with Kenny. I said after watching this week's episode that AEW is like the best elements of Raw and Nitro fused together. A lot of people seem to agree. A few people thought I went too far, though. And I challenge anyone. And this is what I mean when I say this. I challenge anyone at all. Go watch a full episode, a full entire episode, even the very best episode of either one of those shows, and put it up against an average AEW Dynamite. You will inevitably have to sit through at least 20 minutes of bullshit or 13-year-old potty humor or a headbangers match or a race angle or some other horrid shit before getting to that one Austin or Rock or NWO segment that you love so much. We're not comparing moments. I'm saying consistently, value per second of watch time. There is no greater show than AEW Dynamite. It's the best shit I've ever seen week to week. Like, they've raised the bar so much that it's made everything else kind of seem ridiculous that's on American television. I mean, I hate to say it, but, and I'm not saying these places shouldn't exist. I'm just saying I can't enjoy them very much, as TNA looks just ridiculous by comparison. WWE, I mean, I don't watch it, but the stuff I see is just like, okay, great, great storytelling, cinema, whatever. It's just AEW Dynamite is really elevating wrestling to this whole new level. And we've been kind of waiting for another generation to grow up with AEW Dynamite as they're in for wrestling. And it's slowly happening. And as it's slowly happening, the narratives about WWE being the only thing that there really is, the only real wrestling or whatever, are going to fade over time. But this is what smashing a monopoly actually is. It's a lot to grind through. And I'm not saying that for us as fans. I'm saying if you're Tony Khan, if you're somebody who works for AEW, you've had to listen to people just smear you at every turn because this monopoly wants to stay a monopoly. You know what I mean? But I think Tony's made it through to the other side. We're 7 years in now. Like, AEW's forever. Even if it went out of business today, people would talk about it forever from this point forward. You know what I mean? Because there's a legacy that's traceable. And you can see the change in wrestling from the minute AEW started to now. Anyway. Yeah. Tino Ibarra should never trust Ric Flair, either in kayfabe or in real life. Nuclear Vessels X. I tried rewatching Late Stage Attitude Era. It was terrible. Yeah. It's really pretty horrible. The bad parts are so bad that the good parts are almost, for instance, I would rather watch the Best of Stone Cold DVD set than watch a Raw. Like, I don't need to see all that. Like, it's not that good. Like Mark Henry and Mae Young, I got to watch that. Are you serious? I got to watch that? A lot of the Undertaker stuff is terrible. It's just god awful. The way women are treated on those shows, horrific. So, I mean, really. Always never, even with most of the women's matches being in Collision instead of Dynamite, women's wrestling alone makes AEW better. The reason I left the Fed behind in 2006 for TNA Knockouts. Interesting. Okay. I know that TNA Knockouts was a point I wasn't watching, to be fair, but I know TNA was hugely influential on what WWE eventually brought in with the women's division because it got so popular. So that's a really interesting perspective to get. And we're going to talk a little more about the AEW women's division today, too. Blurry Line, trying to watch WWE after only watching AEW makes it feel like you've been set back a few years of school. It really does. It's like, man, like, I don't even know what this is anymore. I remember, the truth is, when Dynamite started, I was still suffering through WWE, and I was going to make the effort because it was still hard for me to fathom the idea that I wouldn't ever see like Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn at the time, or Shinsuke or AJ Styles or Sasha or Bailey or whatever. I was going to try to watch all of it. I'm not shitting you. After 2 weeks, I gave up on WWE entirely. I was like, I like this shit so much. I don't care. I do not care. Tino Ibarra, there's deaf kids now that AEW is their gateway to wrestling. Yeah. And that's what will change history. They're not going to be having these same arguments, like, and there's going to be kids that go, well, yeah, my dad still likes WWE, but I think it's lame. AEW rules, that kind of stuff. Yeti Malone, someone in 100+ years flying an AEW flag. It's my heritage. I would fly the AEW flag over the American flag any old day. Let me tell you that. Scareglow, I'm in my 40s. I've watched wrestling a long time. It's embarrassing to show most people most wrestling, but my wife and I have been watching AEW its whole existence. Still married. You got to keep her. You got a good one there. Blurry Line, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but Undertaker became a good wrestler in like 2005. His hit rate in the preceding 15 years was rough. Yeah, it was. I will say he always had a good amount of athleticism. You know what I mean? But yeah, not a lot of great matches. And honestly, even the stories and all that shit. I remember Bruce Pritchard talking about on Something to Wrestle With when it first came out. I remember him calling Undertaker and Kane the greatest story in the history of wrestling. And I remember going, yeah, maybe he's right. That's laughable to me now. I mean, just utterly laughable. Insane. Tino Ibarra, oh my God, the amount of misogyny and homophobia in old WCW, I must have blocked it out. It's crazy. And as they get closer to death with Mark Madden on the mic and Vince Russo on the show regularly, it's so bad. So bad. All right. So we're switching it up. So we're talking storytelling. Let's talk about the story of Darby Allin as AEW World Champion in its second week. It was hyperbole, but I did say this on Threads. Darby's only been champion for 2 weeks, but it's already one of my favorite reigns. Hyperbole, obviously. Okay, there's been some great world title reigns. I doubt Darby's going to be champion for very long, but I love that he's determined to defend that title at every chance that he gets. Last week, he has a fucking classic with Tommaso Ciampa, one of my favorite matches this year so far. Excuse me, Tommaso Delicious Ciampa, as I now call him. If you know, you know. They beat the fuck out of each other. He and Brody King have a match this week where they beat the fuck out of each other. I've seen Brody and Darby in Defy. I've seen them at Wrestle Dream. Okay. I've seen them wrestle a ton of times. It never gets old. These guys just have unbelievable chemistry. And while there was like a hardcore element to some of it, Darby is proving why he's not just a star. He's a great wrestler, really great wrestler. This is what I've wanted to see out of Darby for some time. I loved the feud with Mox for the most part. I liked the hardcore stuff. I love seeing him wrestle Gabe Kidd. But I'm like, man, this dude can do submission shit. This dude can do complicated grappling stuff. I want to see it. And we're seeing it now. You know, it's really, really, really cool. Yeah. And Blurry Line says, Darby Allin, champ for a good time, not a long time. Absolutely. That's exactly what he did with the TNT title every time he ever held it. He has the record for most defenses because he would only hold it for like a month or two. But he would defend it like 12 times in that period, you know? So, you know, when he's champion, all you're going to get out of Darby is him breaking his body to give you the absolute best shit he possibly can. And these world title matches feel utterly legit. They've already elevated him in my eyes as a champion level guy. Now he's a top guy, period. I don't think it's all that subjective anymore. Like Darby holds himself as a top guy, and there used to be a thing where you'd see a guy win a world title for the first time. And the first time he put it on, he kind of looked a little weird in it. Maybe didn't look quite right in it. Or like Triple H, he never looked quite right in it. But like you would see, it would take you a minute to like adjust your perception of that guy. And then eventually you did, you know, but it might take a minute. And with Darby, it really hasn't taken very much time at all. Maybe it was because I was in the building when it happened, right? And I saw him hold that shit up for the first time. But to me, Darby he could be a world champion again at any time. And I would absolutely buy it and go for it. I'm really, really loving his work. Guy is great, no matter how short this reign is. Let's see. Skewered Universe. Darby has finally been given the chance to show his entire toolbox of moves. 100%. Tino Ibarra, Darby is earning the belt with every match. Absolutely. And he's showing how much, you know, when he says, I'll kill myself for this company, I'm like, Darby, I know you're serious. Please don't. But this is what he means. Like, he had that killer match with Ciampa. And then, like, immediately after the match, Ciampa's just getting out of the ring. Brody King starts walking up the steps, and you're like, holy shit, we're just going from that to this next week. Crazy. And then you see this match they have, and there's a couple spots where you're like, holy shit, did Darby just land on his fucking head? And then he's up and holding the title up, and Kevin Knight's watching from the stands, and you know they're going to do it again next week. This man is incredible. Incredible. I hope he can walk in 10 years. Darby, you better not be bullshitting me. I hope you know what you're doing, man, because you're damn good at it, buddy. Skewered Universe, Darby and Orange Cassidy are the workhorse champions willing to defend their titles until their bodies give out. Totally true. Always never. Darby's mic skills are so great, and I love that he's not just surviving matches. He's outsmarting motherfuckers. So dope. Couldn't agree more. He had this spot with Ciampa where Ciampa had been throwing him all over the place. And finally, Ciampa throws him to the turnbuckle. Darby Darby like jumps up on the turnbuckle. Ciampa falls to his back to like duck whatever Darby's going to do. And then Darby hesitates and then just stomps Ciampa off the turnbuckle. It was so smart. He's been doing a lot of that in these last two matches. And you see that there's a lot of great psychology to what Darby's doing. It's not just about doing crazy shit. There's a lot going on in there. And I think he's absolutely killing it. Nuclear Wessels X, Darby is a fighting champion, but what is next? I think what's next is him probably going to the pay-per-view and losing it, probably to Max. That's my guess. Tony Khan has told me to shove my fantasy booking up my ass plenty and proven me wrong many times. So maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Blurry Line 7, I think the closest comparison is Jeff Hardy, and Jeff never had long title reigns. It just doesn't suit that kind of wrestler, though Jeff often got in his own way for those short reigns. Yeah, he does remind me of Jeff Hardy. I think Darby, theoretically, I think Darby could be champion for a summer or whatever. I don't think he will be this summer, but I could see him conceivably being champion for 3 or 4 months at a time if they wanted to go that route with him. Unlike Jeff, the one difference I see with Darby is more killer instinct. Jeff is and I'm not in no way am I trying to talk down Jeff Hardy. But Jeff isn't a guy who has a ton of psychology to the way he works. His moves don't look that brutal. They're kind of show-offy, gymnastic-looking things that you wouldn't ever do to anybody, and they don't look like they hurt, really. And I'm sorry, but that's just, he's not my guy. Jeff as a singles has never been my guy. Like the Hardy Boys, I love. But Jeff as a singles guy I never got it. I never got why he was ever a world champion, to be honest with you. And I know a lot of other people will feel differently, but that's just my take. But I do see a lot of similarities between Darby and Jeff, and I loved that they had that one singles match with each other. That was super cool. Tino Ibarra, he and Kevin Knight are going to tear the house down. Yeah. And they're going to call back to that C2 match where Kevin beat Darby. Oh, so good. Kevin is just on a rocket to the top right now. It is crazy watching it happen. Skewered Universe, Darby is the believable small man. He uses his smarts to win and retain the title. He's proving that he's not just a daredevil spot monkey type. 100%. Blurry Line, Jeff wrestles for the pop. Absolutely. 100%. The Scare Glow, no other wrestling organization is showing heart like Darby is on AEW. You can't buy that. Yep. Blurry Line says, I will say the Swanton looks like it hurts, but mainly because he just fucking lands directly on the guy nowadays. Yeah. And when he was younger and he would kind of land on his feet / ass instead of really landing on the guy. Didn't look very real. It looks more real now because it kind of is more real. He's not selling it. The guy taking it is just taking it now. He's taking a real swanton. Tino Ibarra, I could see Kevin winning the big belt by next year. I absolutely can. And I don't think that whole little subtext with Swerve is over yet. I really don't. I think there's a lot more to come. And I can't wait to see how they get there. Cannot wait. Okay. We're going to hit some music. When we come back, we're talking about a women's division story that just might be the best story in AEW right now. All right. What should I sing for you guys? I guess you're just what I needed. I needed someone to be. I guess you're just what I needed. I needed someone to please. So please, man. All right, that was the Cars, Rick Ocasek. That first Cars record, by the way, one of the greatest debut albums of all time. Fantastic album. Perfect pop rock. Perfect. All right, we're back. And now we're switching gears just a little bit because we are talking about the one and only Hikaru Shida and how her story might be the best one they're telling in AEW right now. When she came back and wrestled the match with Willow, I was very excited because I am a huge Shida fan, but I thought, is this a one-off? Even when she's in the company full time, she's not always been featured regularly and not always used to maximum effect. And that's a sad truth, right? I don't know why that is. I'm not going to pretend I understand the dynamic there, but it's just always been the truth. But in this run, she's been on TV every week. She's usually on Dynamite, but she's been on Collision too. Her sowing the seeds between Harley and Chris Statlander, fantastic. Okay. Her trying to be this manipulator who's very disingenuously praising people and then very to the point about her hatred of Harley because she doesn't see her as a real wrestler. Fantastic. What is this doing with Stat? Who knows? They had a fantastic tag match with the Divine Dominion, which we're going to talk about the Divine Dominion a little later. That was absolutely great. But she's really showed off, her improving English to some degree, whatever you want to say about that. Her English is a lot better. It's just true. And she's really, really showing what she's capable of as a character. And I couldn't be happier about it. And it is pulling in a lot of other people from the women's division into this story, which has something to do with Mina Shirakawa suspecting that she took out Toni Storm, which has something to do with Statlander, who just reunited and made up with Willow and Harley, right? So it's sowing a lot of seeds that it's one of those things. I'm not even predicting where it's going to go anymore because it could go about 7 different directions. I think Sheeta could very well not be the person who took out Toni. Okay. But I could also see her being the person who took out Toni, right? She would have very justifiable reasons as a heel. I love justified heels. She would have great reason for doing so. And I'm just having a blast with it. It's so much fun seeing her use her acting chops. And I got to say right now, Sheeta and Tekla are doing a lot of the work to carry the women's division right now. And they're both crushing it. I think Tony, one of his things, I wish I could choke him a little bit sometimes without established minute by minute rating stars. Sometimes the women get pushed back. I think losing Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné at the same time has affected the way the women have been featured recently. And I don't approve of it because I think this division is so deep. All you need to do is expose these fans to these women more, and they're going to become huge stars themselves. I think Sheeta, just when I thought maybe her run on top was over, is showing me she could have a whole nother one, you're seeing the potential of Mina Shirakawa right now. You're seeing the potential, Harley Cameron has always felt like she could be a top star at any minute. Chris Statlander is looking fantastic and is as an actual story to sink her teeth into a little more. I felt like her title run was good, but maybe exposed that she didn't have necessarily a completely clear direction as the, what was that called? The Cosmic Killer. Didn't necessarily have a clear-cut direction, which I think is becoming a little more clear-cut now. And I like it. I like it a lot more. See what you guys think. Skewered Universe, the sultry sounds of iBlade Daily singing the hits of the 80s and 90s on 2 cassettes. That's right. That's right. I'll do it. I'll do it for enough money. Blurry Line 7, she's showing the signs of someone who killed Toni Storm, even if I don't think it's actually her. Yes, exactly. I love it. I love it. They're subverting our expectations. They're playing with our expectations. It's amazing. Skewered Universe, Sheeta could have been on TV this much. Sheeta should have been on TV this much from the jump. She's just so good from promos to in-ring work. Agreed. Always Never. I love this story with Sheeta. Tino Ibarra. Sheeta came back and immediately became a major player again. Not everyone could do that. And good, I will give him some credit. Good on Tony Khan for going, you know what? We're going to run with Sheeta. Like, she's back. She's not going to come back and do a surprise pop match with Willow, lose, and then fade to the background. We're going to run with her. Love it. Skewered, AEW has been good at intertwining the men's storylines, and it's about time they do the same with the women. Yes. Sometimes I enjoy the women a lot more than the men. Fuck yeah. The women's division is so fucking good. That's the thing. I mean, the reason we want to see more women, Tony, is because you have a fucking stacked division that's like getting just as stacked as the men's division is. That's why. Tekla has made dumb bitches my Audible stim for like the last month. I love that Tekla goes, people ask why I call the AEW women dumb bitches, and then I was going to stop, but then they keep being such dumb bitches. And no matter what you might think of her, I did think it was pretty funny that Deonna Purrazzo tweeted that, there are a lot of dumb bitches in this company, and that's why I'm happy AEW is paying for my education. Good stuff. Scareglow. Holy Sheeta, I'm so intrigued by what she's up to. I would love to see her help turn stat. A more dangerous Statlander would be scary good. That 450 that she hit on Lena and Megan Bain, that's about as tight a 450 as you're ever going to see. The raw athleticism of Chris Statlander is unfucking believable. Skewered Universe, AEW Women's Division has so much goddamn talent. I think TK gets worried that without the big stars like Monet and Storm, people won't be as on board. Yeah, I think that's his big concern. I think he does want to make more stars, but this would be a great time to have Athena on TV, you know? When was the last time we heard Stat actually talk? She's doing this silent deadly thing, and it's great. And I think maybe that's the best thing for her right now. Sheeta's doing all the talking for both of them right now, you know? Always Never says current stat is my favorite version. It's all of her versions smashed together. It is. It is. I agree. Tino says Deanna is low-key so funny. BJ Dixon, Sheeta and Stat are my favorite women's wrestlers right now. Can't wait to see what twist and turns the storyline will take them. Me neither, man. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. BJ adds, he's a huge Sheeta mark, by the way. How can you not be a huge Sheeta mark, right? Like, she's fucking fantastic. And it's so great to see her show everything she can do, you know? So much fun. I love, we're switching topics. I love, this is going to sound weird, when wrestlers have their own realms. Okay. It happens a little bit. Like I would say for the Death Riders, the backstage, like the kind of boiler room area, that's their realm. They're always filmed in that one area. The Outrunners kind of live in this VHS 80s realm when they do their pre-tapes or whatever. Well, Bandido has his own realm right now, and it's a spaghetti Western realm. Okay. And craftily, AEW, it was while I was at the Dynamite in Everett. I think it was actually on Collision, but they showed kind of a montage of all those Bandido vignettes that they had done in the spaghetti Western realm, right? And they did that a couple weeks ago. And then this week, we see that little realm again, right? The spaghetti Western realm that Bandido's from. And we heard a lot of screaming and wailing from the broken bodies of those who must have opposed Bandido like we've seen before, right? Except not Bandido. No, it's not Bandido. We saw a hand reach down there and we knew it wasn't Bandido and grab his most wanted poster and hold it up to his face. And it was fucking Swerve. What? Swerve and Bandido and Nana was there. And they lit that shit on fire. That wanted poster of Bandido got lit the fuck on fire. People, what is happening right now? These are the kind of dream matches I haven't even had time to think about yet because they seem kind of far off. And then they just get announced and they just, or they just happen or they're teased or whatever. But we're going to Bandido and Swerve next? Are you fucking crazy? That is insane. That's how I felt when they announced Bandido and Andrade at Revolution. Like, are you kidding me? We're going to do this? And then I got to thinking, is Swerve going to challenge for the ROH title? Because Bandido's already booked against Blake Christian for Supercard of Honor on the 15th, which is before Double or Nothing. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Tina says, I don't know what Swerve's beef is with Bandido. I just know it's going to be awesome. Yeah, I have faith in them to tell that story, whatever it's going to be, right? But that's my question. So is it possible that Swerve fucks with Bandido at Supercard of Honor and costs him the title to Blake Christian so that Bandido can be full-time AEW? Because I just don't see Swerve winning the ROH title and wrestling in ROH. You know what I mean? Unless there's huge plans for ROH that we just don't know about. But I could see Swerve fucking over Bandido. You know, and it's kind of an easy story to tell because Swerve came to reclaim his spot as world champion, right? And then Kenny beat him. And Swerve is going to get resentful of the people climbing the ladder who he feels might be in front of him. And he's going to have to show that they're not in front of him because he's still Swerve Strickland. I don't even care about the outcome of the match. I just want to see it because these two could do insane shit with each other. Insane shit. Let's see. Skewered Universe. Swerve and Bandido in a match that I don't know what the rest of that was going to be. The Scare Glow. Is there an actual bounty on Bandido? Yes. I'm looking at the signed Most Wanted poster I have. It's $100,000 reward. Maybe that's what he's looking for. We read that one. Also, Bandido has the ROH title, and obviously Nana has huge ties to ROH. That's interesting. And the embassy towel? That could be very interesting, Blairy. Very interesting. Skewer Universe, Swerve and Bandido in a match. Have it take place in the Western realm. Do whatever. Just give it to me in my veins now. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That would be really like a fun cinematic match they could do. Holy shit. That's a great call. Swerve and Bandido is the match I never knew I needed. Swerve could hold to announce ROH's TV deal. Yeah, BJ. Yes, he could. Yes, he could. Tino says, I think Athena may be losing the belt at Supercard of Honor, and hopefully we get her in AEW more after that. I think so. Whatever they've been holding off on bringing her up for, the time is come and gone. Like, whatever good she can do for ROH, she's already done. And really, she did quite a while ago. Athena, free Athena. Nuclear Wessels X, Blake as ROH champ would be awesome. I agree. I think guys at that level should be the ones being the ROH champion. Have him have a 6-month run where he's just this little shithead that, keeps weaseling his way through and winning. He could be great. The Scare Glow, ROH might be on the come up. Them moving it to Florida, them starting to there's a little bit of a vibe building up around ROH. The story's being more congruent. I think there is a possibility that they're on the come up and that maybe there's something finally brewing for ROH with the TV deal. If Swerve were to win the ROH belt somehow, I really do think they're getting a TV deal. That's the only reason you would have somebody like Swerve win it. He was the AEW world champion 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Skewered, Bandido and Athena need to be full-time AEW. Blake Christian, Vanilla Baby, ROH champion. Yeah, book it, TK. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, no matter how you feel about him, I wouldn't mind if Sammy Guevara was the ROH champion at some point, or Beast Mordos. You could even do it with somebody like Roosh, who I think is on the verge of something in AEW. They're definitely featuring him a lot. And I think maybe they finally have some plans for Roosh, if he can stay healthy, that are going to be pretty cool. Whatever they are. Wouldn't you love to see a Roosh TNT title run? I would love that. He's so great. He's so great. He's just got to avoid getting injured and getting maybe suspended for actually shooting on people. Next topic. Even though we still need more women's matches in AEW, I want to take this moment to applaud the use of the women's tag titles. So like I said, something that's made me a little less happy has been the foot coming off the gas of the women's division since Tony and Mercedes have been gone. Even with multiple promos or backstage segments, and even with maybe 2 matches on a show, at this point, isn't that the bare minimum with this division? But one spot where I have to say they've done a great job is the women's tag division. In my opinion, it's one of the best divisions in AEW. Okay. And it has a lot to do with the tag champs. Okay. After seeing them live and seeing the crowd's response to them, I can tell you that Divine Dominion is them. Holy shit. The aura coming off those two is crazy. They need somebody. I see in the distance who's being built up for them and might even take the belts from them at some point, but I hope it's not for a while. I hope it's like an all-in thing. But I think what you're ultimately trying to get to here, if you're Tony Khan, is you're trying to get to Divine Dominion and the Brawling Birds, right? Because those two teams will kick the living dog shit out of each other. Lena Cross is such a great fucking pickup. And Megan Bain is just a freak. She's just unbelievable. Modern day China, but so much better than China. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit. In so many ways, Megan Bain, Tony needs to lock these two up for a long period of time. I really hope he has, because they are just unfucking believable. Those two are the future of the AEW women's division by my estimation. They could be the present of that division anytime. Just pull the trigger. It's done. But yeah, I think the money match between Divine Dominion, for Divine Dominion is the Brawling Birds. I cannot wait to see a tag rivalry, a legit one between them. And I can see a series of matches over the course of a couple pay-per-views if they play their cards right, just beating the shit out of each other. We know AEW does women's hardcore matches so well. Like, I can't wait to see that shit. I can't wait to see that shit. Blurry Line agrees. Divine Dominion have been incredible. And says, like, in ring, in promos, in presentation. Yeah. You couldn't do that any better. A lot of people have said they feel bad. Have said they want a lot of people have said that sorry, I lost my fucking train of thought. Somebody's being a smartass in the chat there. Not reading that. But yeah, a lot of people have said that they, you know, with the women's division, I think that there's not enough non-title rivalries. There's not a lot of, and there isn't, right? Like, most of the singles feuds revolve around Tekla or Willow. The tag feuds are all going to revolve around the women's tag titles right now, right? But with the Divine Dominion, I think what you see is Megan Bain's way more comfortable cutting promos. Lena Cross is very comfortable cutting promos. They're just incredible. I mean, and they can both work like crazy. And like, when you look at them, like, it's that, you know, it's the stupid airport test thing. They both just, like, holy shit. Clear Line says barroom brawl, please. Holy crap. BJ Dixon, I'm in love with Lena Cross, and I don't know why. I do. She's incredible. What can you say? You know? But yes, so massive props to the way they've treated these tag titles so far in America, specifically with the most prominent women's tag titles in WWE. They have never been treated like serious titles, because the men's tag titles aren't even treated as serious titles. The women's titles even less so. So it's pretty pathetic, you know? And I have to say, I have my fingers crossed, but I didn't know what to expect when they announced these belts. I was excited because I thought more women would be featured, and they have. But they have surpassed my expectations in a whole lot of ways with these tag titles. Just incredible stuff. Just incredible stuff. Blurry Line says barroom brawl, please. That would be so much fun. Skewered Universe says they have presence. Yes, they do. And the Scareglow says, is Persephone going to join the Triangle of Madness after being misted? Sky Blue certainly alluded to, like, being misted was the best thing that ever happened to her. You know, they've shown Willow resisting the mist. But they haven't really done anything with the mist turning anybody in a long time. But Persephone hasn't been on TV. I thought Sky Blue mentioning that was kind of cool, and I would love to see Goth Persephone. Holy shit. That would be awesome. Awesome. Persephone's so fucking good. Yeti Malone says VKM hated tag team wrestling because he'd have to pay twice as many people for one match. That's so often when you hear old wrestlers or old promoters or whatever say shit like that, it's like, you guys are only thinking in the short term. You're only thinking about the inconvenience it's causing you, instead of, if I give the fans exactly what they want, more of them will come to the shows, buy merch, and pay for the product. It's such short-term, small-time thinking. And Vince was no different. You know, for all the ways in which this guy is treated as some fucking genius for thinking so big about wrestling, he thought very, very small in so many other ways. He really is a very overrated brain in the wrestling business. Big Ads wants evil Persephone. Yes. What's up, buddy? And always never says, I would love a shit for Persephone. I would too. One person that it certainly looks like we are seeing a shift for is the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay. Holy shit. So after that loss at Double or Nothing, they really made the distinction clear. Moxley said, Ospreay, you know, your emotions misled you. I told you they were going to, and they did, and you lost. If you want to be the killing machine that you could be, the greatest wrestler in the world, you need to let it go, and I can help you, right? This week, Will showed up backstage with the Death Riders. And folks, we've been talking about the finger poke of doom for almost 30 years. And it's finally been replaced with the belly button poke of doom. When Moxley becomes aware that that Will is interested. He gets so excited like a little kid. He jumps up in the air. This guy is just, what the fuck? And Mox gets so excited like a little kid. And he looks at Pac and he goes, and he pokes him in the belly button. Pac is wearing this white polo shirt and a little cap. He looks like a Geordie, like little, like a pizza delivery man. And Mox pokes Pac in the belly button, and Pac looks so, with just one facial expression, Pac looks so just dehumanized. It's so fucking funny. I saw so many GIFs of it. Okay. It ended up being the cover of this week's episode because it's fucking hilarious. But Moxley said, everything that you're carrying with you needs to go. You need to drop it all. Whatever your feelings towards me, you need to drop them all. And Ospreay says, okay. And then he says, where's the ring? And they say, oh, we don't use the ring. He's got to wrestle with them backstage. Fucking cool. This could go in a million directions, a million different directions. And literally any one of them I would love. So Will joins the Death Riders. That's a direction they could go. Will learns from Mox and then uses everything he learned from Mox to obliterate the Death Riders because he's not let go that grudge. That could be cool as hell too. And then he takes what he's learned to win the world title. That could be awesome. Moxley, I can see Moxley getting hidden bladed into oblivion with a big smile on his face. You know what I mean? I could see it. I could totally see it. There's any number of directions you could go. It's fucking insane to me. Skewered says, Ospreay a Death Rider? Possibly. Yeti Malone says, in Greek mythology, Persephone is the wife of Hades and queen of the underworld. Good point. Good point. Skewered Universe said Mox had that big dad energy. He really did. He really did. I love that he jumps up and down. He's so excited. Big ads, my head hurts with all the twists and turns Moxley's character has taken, but here I am, still watching him be one of the most compelling characters on TV. Yeah. This Mox, he's just one of the greatest of all time. And he's a legend. He's a legend. He's one of the best promos I've ever seen. Even though he's not like one of my top 5 favorites, I give the man his due, utterly. He is one of the greatest workers, one of the greatest promos. He's got aura for days. He oozes a physical charisma that you can't replace. And you buy everything he says feels real. He's never a dude who's acting. He feels dead on legit, always, no matter what direction his character goes. And that's the highest compliment I think you can give anybody is they make you believe in what you're seeing. Man pokes Pac in the belly like that, you know he's not afraid of anything. Exactly. Pac's face. Oh my God. This, guys, the screen cap I got for the cover of this episode is perfect because Pac looks like, oh. You know that was improvised. I don't think that was planned at all. I don't think that was planned. And that's what you would never see a silly, like a weird moment like that in WWE. They want everything scripted to the 20th degree, you know? So you never see spontaneous shit like that. That's why the product feels so weird when I see it now. It just feels so plasticky, you know? And that's just my opinion. If you like the shit, that's fine. But to me, that's why it has no interest to me whatsoever. Blurry Line, Mox excitedly bopping around because of wrestling is one of my favorite things. Him on comms for Bryan versus ZSJ was amazing. See, that was a match I saw live and didn't hear the commentary until later that night, and I was dying. Oh, my God. BJ Dixon says, I posed a question on my TikTok. Is Ospreay joining the Death Riders, or is he going to implode them from within? This could be a generational story. It really could. It really could. He could eliminate Mox. He could eliminate the whole faction. He could join the faction and just be part of it. He could be, Mox could end up being his fucking manager for all I know. I don't know. But wherever it's going, I really like it. I really, really like it. I'm so glad I was wrong that the Death Riders didn't break up because I was dead wrong. I love being wrong. It's a lot of fun in this context. In this context, not about like what, not about like your taxes and stuff. Don't be wrong about that. Smart ass judge. Had he not left WWE, we'd have never seen what Mox is capable of, period. I came back to WWE in 2012, and it was right after the formation of the Shield. And Dean Ambrose really stood out to me as the guy who felt most like he should be like a heel, but as the guy who like had a sense of not purpose, but purpose, but like a sense of like Seth and Roman seemed like dudes who were young guys who didn't really know what the fuck they were doing yet as characters. And Mox was the guy providing all the direction. He was the general, you know what I mean? And I liked the whole time I watched WWE, I liked Mox a lot, liked Dean Ambrose, but I always felt like they screwed him. They just never let him do what you knew he was capable of. But even I did not know he was capable of what he does now. I remember seeing him in the G1 and just being blown away that this guy was the same guy. I remember seeing him in that death match with Kenny at Full Gear in 2019 and going like, holy fucking shit. Kenny showed me a lot then too, obviously. But you just knew this was just the tip of the fucking iceberg. And with all of it, with AEW, with Mox, with Kenny, with all of it, that's been true. That's been absolutely true. Bleary line with the best comparison. Pac looks like a big snarling dog who just got booped and is now angry but confused. Yeah, exactly. He got emasculated. The Scareglow Moxley has said recently he will not go in a direction that WWE would. It's so refreshing. It gives me so much faith in his decisions. 100%. Bleary line. Also, we need to think about the proxy wars involved with this. Death Riders are allied with the Dogs, who are Bullet Club. Mox is part of United. Will is part of United Empire, who went to a literal career-ending war with Bullet Club War Dogs. Yeah, exactly. I've been thinking about that too. And plus, the United Empire looks like they're about to fucking turn on Will at any moment. There's a lot up in the air right now. A lot. Watch out for Forbidden Door. Something big's going to happen at Forbidden Door, I think. Security Universe, I was a huge fan of him in WWE, but goddamn, I wanted them to let him off the corporate leash. Mox has thrived being given freedom. Cody had freedom and yearned for the WWE handcuffs. I mean, yeah, I know. Final destination in the house, brother. What up? Person, I shouldn't assume gender, sorry. Blurry Line 7, expecting Will to play nice with someone like Gabe Kidd is going to be a huge conflict point. Dogs are going to remember that Ospreay ended Coughlin's career. God damn it. It's also good. It's also good, guys. It's also good. And this has been a great episode of this fucking show. Thank you all so fucking much. I'm so happy to share this time with you all. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Okay. Click the little ding-a-ling so that you get notified every time that we go live or have a new video up. There's always more. Make sure that you leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platforms you listen to. I got a little more chat, so I'm not going to wrap it up yet. Scareglow, corporate wrestling is absolute trash. And you know what's funny about that, Scareglow? By any definition, AEW is corporate too. It's just they don't act that way. They don't act like a corporate wrestling thing. You know what I mean? But they've got so much money behind them, you know? Final destination. You think Will is going to turn heel? I don't know. I don't think he's going to turn heel per se. I could see him becoming more of like a Moxley tweener, or I could see him turning on the Death Riders and being Will Ospreay and being that guy that he always has been. So many seeds planted. Big ads. UE needs to show they don't need Will, and Will seems to be using UE as the only reason not to go all in with Death Riders. It's a pretty loaded situation that promises to result in crime. Yes. Big ads, classic Blade wanting you to play with this dingling. Hey, now. It's true, but hey, now. Skewered, if you're not supporting this show, what's wrong with you? Thank you. Player Line 7, I would love an Alex Coughlin appearance during this feud as someone to really sell the violence and bad blood between everyone involved. And you tell more of the dog story too, you know, because there is people who watch AEW who never watch New Japan. So, you know, Gabe and David Finlay and Clark are still like, who the hell are these guys? They're still figuring out that part of the storytelling. The doctor said I can't click the dingling anymore because it might fall off. Doctor, eh? Interesting. Blurry line, obviously non-wrestling role, sadly. Yeah, Alex Coughlin is not going to wrestle anymore. It's what a shame. He was really good too. All right. So, yes, once again, make sure you follow Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out on YouTube. Make sure you follow Pro Wrestling Forever on YouTube. That's Pro Wrestling Forever Pod. We just did our debut episode this past Monday. This Monday, we're going to be talking about factions. I want to know who's your favorite faction. What member joined a faction and killed it for you when it totally jumped the shark? What are some of the best faction wars that you've ever seen? Like, it wasn't even a very good war, but like, remember when the Shield and the Wyatts came face to face for the first time and the crowd response? That was something else, right? That should have been so much better, but unfortunately it was WWE telling the story. But I want to know everything that you think about it. I'm going to tell you what I think the history of factions in wrestling is. I'm going to be doing some research this weekend. We're going to have a very good goddamn time. Blurry Line Hornswoggle is going to feature on this list. Surely. He joined like every faction. It's true. He did. He even joined the McMahons at one point. Are they a faction? They're a faction. All right, guys. Well, until next time, I'm Blade Daily. Pro Wrestling Forever. Y'all, I love you to death. You're the best. This was so much fun. I got to mix this shit. I got to eat some dinner. Talk to you soon. I clicked the wrong button.